Dr. Sierra, where we discuss all things running. Today we are talking about how to stay entertained while running on the treadmill. So if you're anything like me, you're not really a big fan of running on the treadmill, but as of late here in Texas, the weather has been kind of all over the place. One day it's like 70, the next day it's 40. So it's been pretty difficult for myself to kind of maintain my running routine because I'm not a fan of running in the cold. I definitely enjoy the warmer weather when the sun is out. But in order to kind of keep up with the schedule, that means I still have to run. And unfortunately, that means I have to run on the treadmill. So how can we keep ourselves entertained when we have to run on the treadmill? First thing you can do is to listen to an audiobook of some sort, or maybe a podcast. If you are a person who enjoys reading and you aren't having really a lot of time to get through your books, that's an awesome way to kind of get your reading in while you're running. You know, you can kind of knock two things out at once. Podcasts are also a great thing that you can do while you're on the treadmill. Just find one that's interesting that will keep you kind of going. You're in tune to the podcast or maybe even the book, that you kind of get lost in that and you're not really paying attention to the fact that you're running, and you know, you're not focused on that running so much because you're just like, hey, this book is actually really good, or this podcast is really good. Now, me on the other hand, I enjoy listening to my music while I'm running, so I definitely would suggest to create a really bomb playlist. And this kind of takes time, but you want to make sure that you are using songs that are fast, the ones that are going to motivate you, they have a good beat to it, that you're kind of like, okay, I really like this song, or I haven't heard this song in forever. Find you a good playlist. I know if you go on maybe like Spotify is what I use, but sometimes on there they will already have preset playlists where all you have to do is just kind of click on it. Now, one thing I would suggest if you do that is you can kind of skim through the playlist, and if there's songs that you're like, I don't really like this song, or you know, you just find yourself every time you're listening to it, you just skip over it. So what you could do is that you could just delete those out of the playlist, or just like, you know, kind of hide them for when you're listening to it, and then you can just enjoy the songs that you really do like that would keep you motivated during the run. Now, another way to keep yourself motivated and make it fun and entertaining is to run intervals or pyramids. Now, with the intervals, you can just say, you know what, I'm gonna run for 3 minutes, and then I'm going to sprint for 1 minute and recover for those 3. You can kind of do that for the duration of the time, however long you're choosing to run. Or you can set it up pyramid style, where you can say, you know, we're going to do like 3 minutes on, 1 minute rest, and then we're gonna work our way up. Or the opposite way, you can start really long in the beginning, say you'll run for 15 minutes, kind of work your way down. It just kind of depends on how you want to shape your run. This is all customizable for yourself. Whatever you want to do, whatever works for you, whatever's going to keep you motivated throughout the run, that is what I suggest you to do. These are just options and different things and ideas that you can use on your runs to make it a little bit more enjoyable, especially if you are not a treadmill runner, but you're kind of forced to do it and don't have another option. Now, if you are running on the treadmill at home and you have the treadmill set up where you can watch TV, maybe you don't want to listen to a podcast, you don't want to read a book, you don't want to listen to music, and your TV is in front of, or your treadmill is in front of the TV, you can run according to the shows. You can watch the shows and you can kind of switch it up. Give yourself like a little commercial challenge. Like while you're watching the show, you're going at a certain speed or pace. And then when the commercials come on, maybe you have to sprint for the entire time until the show comes back on. Or if you get an interval of the sprints while the commercials are on, you can kind of just play around with it, but you have to find a way to kind of challenge yourself instead of just running straight the whole time. That can kind of get boring. You may not be as motivated to continue to do so because it's just kind of no change in your run. You're doing the same thing over and over again, and that can easily deter you from wanting to get back on the treadmill and do that again the next day. So just switch things up and find a different way to kind of entertain yourself. Now, if you are one of those people that when you get on the treadmill, you're like, I'm running for 30 minutes, and then you're running, but the whole time you're like looking down like, okay, well, it's only been 1 minute. Now it's been 5 minutes. Now it's been 15 minutes. It seems like the time is going by so slow because the whole time while you're running, you're just looking down at the console. So one thing I would suggest, if you are that person, cover it up and just run. Focus on something else. the other options that I gave you, maybe you're listening to music, you're watching TV, you're listening to a podcast, but just cover up the numbers. Don't focus so much on that. Just get your run in. And I feel like, once you finish maybe listening to an episode or whatever it is, when you remove, let's say, a towel or something that's covering the console, I think you may be surprised that like, oh, I didn't even realize I sat here and ran for 30-40 minutes, because you're not sitting there focusing on the time itself. Definitely don't do that if you are getting frustrated and like the time goes by so much slower while I'm on the treadmill. It's because you're looking at it the entire time, versus when you're outside, you don't have a clock in front of you. Maybe your watch, and maybe you're a watch checker. But if you can avoid focusing so much on the time, I think your run will go by a lot quicker, and you can just enjoy the run and not have to be so worried about every single minute that you're running. If you are in the gym, a good option for you is if you are, they normally have all the treadmills set up next to each other. So if you are running and there's somebody, maybe your accountability partner, your gym partner, if they are deciding that they want to run as well, then you know what? You can kind of make it into a race. You can say, okay, we're going to run for 5 minutes to kind of warm up. Now we're going to race each other on like intervals and do that multiple times. You have to make it fun. And I know that option may not always be the case for everyone, because if you're not running in a gym, or if you are the only person on the treadmill, maybe don't have that option. But if there is another person is open and willing to do it with you, then why not? Let's just make it fun while we're in the gym. Hey, you want to race? I'm going to race you on the treadmill. We're going to bump our speed up. We're going to run as fast as we can for a few minutes. You got to make it fun, guys. That's what this running is all about. You got to find a way to keep yourself motivated so that you can keep doing it over and over again and you don't get bored. So if you are a visual person and you don't want to watch TV, don't want to listen to anything, and you kind of enjoy the outside aspect of running, being able to look at nature and just see other people, an option for you, especially now, because I feel like this has become more popular since COVID has happened, but you can do a virtual trail. Maybe your phone or your iPad or something where you can simulate running along a trail. I know that there are a lot of different treadmill options that come equipped for that. They have a monitor that you are able to simulate you running outside. And if you don't have access to that, then that's what I'm saying. Your phone could be another option where you can just kind of get some variety in. It will make you feel as if you're running outside, and it can kind of be the closest thing to being able to run outside. But I know it's not the same, but at least it's another option. You can mix things up, and it kind of just will provide you some variety. Now, if you've been listening to all of the different options and you're like, well, I kind of already do that, I am not interested in doing anything different, well, I think one last option, which is pretty cool, you can use an app. So there is an app called Active. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And in the app, there are a lot of different varieties that you can choose from. But one of the things I think is pretty cool is if you benefit from having someone to push you along, you can do your run even anywhere outside in the gym. But if you are on the treadmill and you're looking for some motivation, you can have a coach who will kind of push you in, like, okay, we're getting up to the mile mark. It's time to increase your speed. It's time to slow it down until we get to the next mile. Whatever it is that you're looking from, I would definitely check that app out and see if that is something that you can try on your runs to kind of make it a little bit more interesting, or maybe you need a little bit more motivation. Try the app Active. Now, another cool app I think that's out there is called Zombies Run. Now, with this app, it just kind of will take your mind off the running per se, a little bit, because while you're running, there's different things that you have to pick, like supplies, and you're running and you are doing it and it's based off of your speed. So if you have to reach a certain point, you're gonna have to speed your run up in order to make that time cut off, or you're just trying to get something that you need along on the app. So it's fun. It's something that can kind of a little bit take your mind off of the idea of running per se, but it's kind of motivating you because you're all into the game and trying to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to for the game. So it's just another option, something else to kind of help make the treadmill run a little bit more entertaining. And that's what this whole video is about. So I hope that this kind of gives you some other options. Maybe you haven't thought of these things before, but it's just something to think about on your runs so that you don't get discouraged and that you don't completely say, I don't want to do my runs anymore because it's cold, or I'll just wait till it gets warmer. Let's not make excuses. Let's just try to find ways to motivate ourselves, ways to keep running, because you want to be healthy. We don't want to let all the hard work that maybe you did in the previous season go to waste. So you just want to maintain, and we want to do everything that we can to prevent any injuries. So if you can avoid having long gaps in your running times, then maybe you will, see less injuries if you're doing everything else that you need to do. So I just want everyone to remain as healthy as possible, motivate yourselves to get your runs done. So if you have any additional tips that you use to keep yourself motivated on the treadmill and making sure that you still get your runs in, I want you to leave those below so other people can see them and check them out, and let's just all share our ideas. If you like this video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And then we will see you next time on The Rundown with Dr. Sierra, where we discuss all things running. I hope that everyone enjoyed this video, and happy running.